community or not. And we are here with Mr. Mike Myler. How you doing, Mike?
I'm great. How you guys doing?
All right, we are fantastic. Mike is here as part of our newly spawned RPG designer chats. We're kind of going behind the scenes on the creative process behind RPGs. Mike has been here before. He's twice actually. He came on once to talk about NOW. From do you guys call it now or NOW?
I call it now.
Okay, that's cool. And you were kind and indulgent enough to come back and actually roleplay a several-hour-long demo for us. We're really appreciative of that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I was happy to do it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Sitting next to Mike Myler in our virtual BAMF studio is Chuck Rice, RPG legend. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Oh, cool. And happy late birthday.
Thanks. You
are 29?
22, just old enough to drink. It's a phenomenal age to be alive. It's great.
All right. Benjamin buttoning through life. I like it. Aid Smith from the UK. How you doing, Aid?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
All right, cool. And last but not least, Walt Rebelliard. How you doing, Walt?
I am not an RPG legend, but I'll gladly sit beside one.
All right. And I forgive Mr. I have to beg Mr. Myler's forgiveness. I just want to touch on this subject, and I know he's not crazy about talking about it, but let me share the screen, and you guys can see this just because I know it's what everyone's talking about in the RPG world right now. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Chuck, you chortle. Do you have an opinion?
I think it's dumb. Now,
straight to the point.
I will back that up by saying some things can be the right kind of dumb. And I thought there was a chance that this was going to be that, but I'm going to have to say, I mean, I can't imagine being drunk enough to ever want to play it.
All right. I feel you. For maybe our listeners who can't see the screen because you're going audio, Wendy's, in association with Critical Role, the really successful and popular RPG streaming show, has put out an RPG, a 100-page RPG book called A Feast of Legends, which is basically a short adventure path and some basic sort of D20 inspired rules, where you go on a 5 short adventures, basically fighting. How would you guys describe the enemies in this book?
Dumb.
Thinly disguised avatars of their fast food competition.
Yes.
And this has been creating all kinds of buzz in the RPG sector. Mike, you got an opinion about it before the show? Do you want to share?
Sure. Wendy's is a bad company. Their profits, much of it goes to donations to like a white supremacist campaign, and they treat their workers very badly, worse than most fast food chains. So I don't shop at Wendy's, and I don't feel the need to gush over their latest cronyism. I'm cool.
Although I have it on good authority from this RPG that I downloaded that they're the good guys.
Yeah.
You can't believe everything you read in those books, Chuck. Aid, you're in the UK, so you are blissfully free of American franchises like Wendy's over there. Do you have any horse in this race?
Yeah, I know of it through TV and movies, but not as far as I'm aware. There's not a single Wendy's in the UK. So yeah. I just find it bizarre. It's almost like it's like a novelty product. I can't believe someone's literally going to go, right, what we're playing today then, boys? Oh, that Wendy's RPG is out. We're going to like, let's go there. It just seems such a weird thing to do. And because I saw the thing about Critical Role and thought the thing that rumor that came through, Wendy's were going to sponsor Critical Role, and I thought that was odd right away. And then this popped up the day after, and I thought, well, this is even weirder. So I don't get it. But hey, maybe RPGs are just so mainstream nowadays that everybody just can't wait to put their weight behind one of them. Well, I can't wait to see McDonald's follow-up. This is going to be the fantastic thing about it. And Colonel Sanders and all that monarchy, it's going to be...
Well, there have been a lot of like specifically targeted geek marketing. Colonel Sanders right now has an anime dating sim game.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh yes, yeah, you're right. It does. Jeez,
And,
man, this is crazy.
I mean, for years back on Community, they used to do product placement for KFC.
Yeah.
And
See, somehow the KFC dating sim seems like the right kind of dumb to me. That I am somehow totally behind. I don't know why.
Yeah. They were in Community, which was a show I really liked a few years ago, and they kind of worked them in sort of clever. The gang of misfits on Community wound up stealing a space shuttle simulator from a local museum, and it was one that was sponsored by KFC. So every bit of astronomical, information in the space shuttle display was somehow turned into KFC marketing.
Is there actually writers' credits on this?
No writers' credits.
It's the marketing team who made it.
So on Reddit, yeah, a dude posted that it was a marketing firm that he used to work for. He gave the names of the guys. None of them rang any bells with me.
Yeah, that's because I assume they wouldn't be, because it does seem to be that a lot of these big companies will go, hey, yeah, we created it as a company. It just sort of we put some paper in the ground and it just popped up the next morning. We took it out and that was it.
We sprinkled some magic juice on it.
Yeah.
Well,
so I'm not surprised in that at all.
The last several jobs I've had, I just sign a document, and I just do computer stuff. I mean, granted, it's high-end servers that look like the computer from war games, but saying that any intellectual property I created on company hours belong to my employer. So if I write a great script that does things super fast, the guy who writes the check owns it. So, but I was talking with Walt yesterday, and I had great ideas for similar tie-in products. Like, I'm stealing this from somebody at Paizo, but Count Chocula, the Masquerade.
I'd play that.
Tacos of Elemental Evil for Jack in the Box.
Surely surely Tony the Tiger would be the one for the werewolf equivalent of Count Chocula. So
that's a stroke of genius, Ed. Yeah,
I think that'll do the job.
I was going to finish up this sad bit with keep pancakes on the Borderlands
and the rice. Is it Rice Krispies, the little elf things? That's Changeling. So we're going for the
full world of darkness.
Yeah. I can't think of Wraith though. I think Wraith might be a bit of a difficult thing to. Any undead cereals we can think of?
Oh no, Captain Crunch can be a vampire hunter. For sure.
Oh, okay, there you go.
There was like a ghost cereal too, wasn't there? Like in the
Blueberry.
Yeah, there you go, Blueberry.
That's correct. Yeah. Walt, you look very jaded, cynical, and sleepy over there. Do you have an opinion?
I'm just sitting here drinking my coffee and thinking that anything involving the word Wraith should include Taco Bell.
We're brainstorming the General Mills cinematic universe here, guys.
This is how the sausage gets made, buddy. This is how these things happen. All right, I'm out of bad RPG food-related puns. Anyone else got any before we move on?
No, let's grab a shovel.
All right, well, that bit is dead. Moving on. So, Mike, can you give our listeners a quick overview of your resume in RPGs?
Yeah, I've been a full-time freelance RPG game designer for half a decade now, or 6 years, something like that. I have 6 campaign settings that I licensed to various publishers. I wrote the What's Old is New's middle book, Now action game. I write regularly for EN World. I'm the editor of EN Insider, which is the best Patreon for 5e content on the internet. We're almost up to 300 articles. You can pay as little as $1 a month. You get them all. Yeah. That's my thing. I make worlds, and then I get hired out by people to write adventures and help them with their worlds and stuff. Oh, and the other cool thing that's coming up, I'm doing the RPG Writer Workshop. Have you talked to anybody from the RPG Writer Workshop yet?
I don't know what that is. Please tell me.
It is a workshop for people who want to write RPG material. RPGWriterWorkshop.com, I think, is the thing. But,
I never would have saw that coming.
Yeah, I know. It's a real sneaking on you URL there. But no, they have a nice program that's helped a lot of people publish and get started, and they're mostly predicated towards DM's Guild, and I'm not a fan of DM's Guild, so I've been pestering the person running it, like, hey, let's do something for not DM's Guild. So if you're interested in making a campaign setting primer for your world, sign up for that. My course starts, I think, next month. So I'll be teaching RPGs soon, which is
cool.
Weird.
Is this webinar format?
It is, yeah. The lessons are, I think, all told like 8,000 words. But I'm there to help move things along, help you find images and layout, and all the other stuff that comes up.
And what kind of schedule are we talking? Is it live?
8 weeks. 8 weeks. Like you should be done within 6 to 8 weeks, if not sooner. Once you start.
And do people have an interactive platform with you?
Yeah, there's a Discord server, and
There you go.
you're welcome to email me and stuff.
Right on. That's pretty cool.
I know, I'm pretty excited about it. Like, yeah.
All right, help me out one more time because I've had various head trauma over my life. What was the URL again?
RPGwriterworkshop.com is, I think, supposed to be the URL. It's not my thing. I'm just working for them.
I
See,
understand.
This is really cool because we just mentioned about mainstream media and RPGs. This is something that also would probably never happened 10, 20 years ago. This is now, it's like, there's actually, it's like people just go, you want to write them funny books with them pictures and them numbers in it? What are you on about? Something that someone's actually set something up to actually promote it and get people to do it. That's really, really cool.
Well, 10 years ago, Kobold Press started putting out the How Do You Do Whatever books, right?
Oh, is that that long ago? See,
It might have been
I'm so
5
old.
years.
10 years ago seems like it's like 2 minutes ago, so it probably is 10 years ago. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
I feel like it's become more of a thing now, but I feel like there were products in the past where it's like, here's how you make a world or whatever.
That's cool.
Abe, I'm going to blow your mind. 1999 was 20 years ago, dude.
Yeah, no, don't start it. I know. Every film I like is like 97. It's really weird.
There are some good movies that year. So if you go to rpgwriterworkshop.com, you are out of luck. But if you Google RPG Writer Workshop, you'll go to their main landing page, which is rpgwriterworkshop.com with a bunch of subdirectories. And that takes you to a landing page that says everything happened in 2019.
Yeah, she's got to update everything.
We're close to the summer, and they point you to their Twitter account, which is RPG Writer and then WRKSHP on Twitter, where you get the updates. So
Sounds like a Russian nesting doll.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's a little puzzle box action going on here as well. So that's good. That's cool. That's good. That's to prime your adventure
super
writing.
Complex meta game that we're playing with everybody.
Yeah, they're gamifying it. Yes.
That's the most complicated plug I've ever done. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make that so awkward.
The first adventure is the adventure.
So, Mike, the game I know you best for is Now, which, like I said, we got to hand the show, and it was a great kind of A-team 90s action movie, good time. Was that kind of your ideal project? You seem like you were a big fan of 90s action movies, or is there a great whale out there that you still dreaming of writing someday?
Oh, well, I mean, it was a dream project working on Now, because I am a huge fan of action movies. I went crazy with the martial arts section. I got him to keep the chapter name. I was so adamant about. But really, I just like to get the.
What was that chapter name?
Oh, A Fistful of Chi.
Nice. All right.
Right? Oh god. Yeah, but no, I want to get the Warhammer 40K license, and I want to be in control of it. I've gotten to work on when Fantasy Flight Games had it, and then Ulysses Spiel had me work for them, and I guess now Cubicle 7 has bought the stuff I wrote for Ulysses Spiel. But I would like control of it, and to make a game about being in the Assassinorum in Warhammer 40K.
I wish Dan Abnett. He's been on a few times. He's done a lot of writing in that world.
Oh God, you got to talk to Dan Abnett?
We can send you the links.
Yeah, a few times.
Fuck you guys. Oh man, he writes the best stuff. Seriously, he's incredible.
I am still going to clip that part and send it to him and be like, you got to hear this.
I've been trying to get him to come back on because he's actually coming back to Marvel to do more cosmic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, more Annihilation. Yay!
Yeah,
I imagine he's in very high demand after all the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff.
Yeah, I asked him what he saw for that.
If you could ask him when the fuck he's going to finish the Ravenor trilogy, I would love that. I've been sitting there with Beckwin, and I know he's got the other book done. So if you could just move it along, Dan.
It takes me 2 to 3 months to get Dan to come on the show. I have to email him a few times and remind him who we are, and send him some links to old shows. He's like, "Oh yeah, you guys." Then he comes back on. So I'm always very flattered because he's one of the few comics pros. We got a handful of guys who comes on. Ron Mars, we got him booked in the near future. The guy behind Kyle Rayner. So, but yeah, Dan's a great guy. When we come on, I'll make sure you write out that question for me in email form. So, like I said, there's head trauma. I think you said Feast of Ravenor, or what was it?
So he's done the Ravenor trilogy. It's the Ravenor versus Eisenhorn trilogy.
Okay.
Eisenhorn's getting his own TV show soon. So
Yes.
needs to get on it. It's time to finish, Dan.
I heard they're doing that with puppets. Is that true?
Say what?
They're doing that with puppets.
Oh yeah, no.
Puppets, okay.
Although that would be kind of awesome. That would be kind of awesome.
I think everything gets better with puppets. I don't think anyone wants to admit it, but like if I say they're rebooting The Princess Bride, everyone's like, "Oh, fuck those guys." If I say they're rebooting The Princess Bride
With Muppets.
puppets,
Yeah, no, I was one of the people who was like, I'm not about this Princess Bride, no reboot. I read the books, it's really, but then somebody was like Muppets, and I was like, oh shit.
yeah, that makes everything better with Muppets.
Yeah.
Chuck, do you agree?
Sure. Yeah.
I just trying to draw you back into the conversation, Chuck. I was
Look,
afraid.
I got nothing against Muppets. Live and let live.
I think it's Dan Musevi did this really amazing series of illustrations called The Streets, where he like modernized the Muppets and put them into horrible scenarios, like Breaking Bad, the Muppets. So like, Cookie Monster's got a strip club, Ernie's addicted to heroin, and Bert's like a bad cop. Like, yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah, there was a series of that on DeviantArt, a series of pictures. Also, the guy who did Lord of the Rings, he had a movie way back in the day called Meet the Feebles.
I remember Meet the Feebles. Yeah, that was like really nasty stuff, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. So Mike, let's talk about world building. Let me show your book on screen. And you did this all with public domain art? Is that correct?
Not all of it's public domain art. The cover is public domain art.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me, that is a pretty amazing cover too.
Thank you. It's a collage of Ekaterina Vladnikova doing the horse dude, and then Jeff Brown castles on the left and right.
All right, cool. So this is your latest project coming up on Kickstarter, and this
not Kickstarter. It's coming on Game on Tabletop.
Oh, okay.
The new platform I've heard about.
Yes. One of my design team came up to me like a couple of weeks ago and was like, "Hey man, do you see this stuff about Kickstarter union workers?" And I was like, "Oh no." And we look at it. My initial reaction was like, "Okay, well we'll wait and see how it all pans out." Because normally, the reaction for management is to knee jerk whenever somebody says the word union. Then I found out why they wanted a union, which has me all kinds of angry. So yeah, Game on Tabletop is what it is.
All right, cool. So, and this is a generous 40-page primer that you send out to everyone who joins your email list.
Yes.
And once they join your list, they get regular updates on your. This is a stat block for an awakened coral reef.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for that. That's Matteo Piovanelli's warlord. He did a great job.
That is pretty cool. So people sign up, and if I want to sign up on your email list, how do I do that?
Go to www.vastcavia.com. That's Cavia with a K.
Okay, all right. And that's how people can get on. And you send them this so they can get a taste of the game, and then you will send them a note when you go live.
Yes. Should be sending the PDF out, I think, tomorrow. And then, we'll go live on October 8th around 4 p.m. Eastern, and I will email everybody on the list.
Oh, so 4 days from today. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about world building then, since we're doing a creative process podcast. And when you're doing something like Vast Cavia, what's your process for fleshing that out? Do you start with an outline? Do you just kind of free write until something feels right to you, or how do you approach that?
Well, first you got to get your idea. So like the basic concept of what the world is, and then I figure out what the North Star is. The North Star is this word I use in every part of design, and it's just another way you can say compass. But like you pick one word or at most two words that are like just central to the campaign setting. That you just can't have the campaign setting without this word, or conversely, an antithetical element to that word, right? So in my first campaign setting for Anthea, it was radical. So everything should feel and look radical. And then Mists of Akuma, it was cool. Everything should feel and look cool. Hypercore is obviously hyper. And then here it's the word vast, which is why vast is in the title. It should always feel huge, no matter what you're looking at specifically. So yeah, after you get your North Star, then you use that to determine what does or doesn't make it into the campaign setting. So if something doesn't feel vast, then it doesn't go in there. Like Fantastic Voyage is awesome, but a thing about cavemen shrinking down to go into somebody's body to fight monsters doesn't really fit the concept of vast cavia very well. So no bueno. And yeah, so this one was a little weirder than normal because like most campaign settings, I don't make it to be decentralized. So like here, there are a bunch of different regions, and they all have similarities, and that's what ties the world together. These 13 tenets that are the same no matter where you are, right? The world's massive. There's no formal magic. What magic there is, there's only a little bit of it. There's no like heavy armor and stuff because it's like late Bronze Age, early Iron Age. And yeah, so everybody, and there were a lot of people. Vast Cavia is a terrible example for a campaign setting because I want to. It's a weird campaign setting. It's meant to be something you could pick apart and take parts of and remove, and still everyone will have a different Vast Cavia because there are exploration rules, and whenever you reach new territory, it's randomized on what's in front of you and whether or not there is a warlord and which warlord it is. So every GM has their own Vast Cavia. But yeah, the thing that keeps it all together are the 13 tenets that I made sure everyone followed as they were making their own warlords. Typically, you'd want to start with like a timeline. So you have an idea of like how the world got to where it is, and then work out your map, and then from there, focus in on things and pick this area and start fleshing it out. But the thing to remember, no matter whether you're doing a decentralized campaign setting like Vast Cavia or a traditional one, is that every campaign setting is essentially the stage dressing at a show, right? So you could have a stage filled with props like ionic columns and other Grecian things, and it'll be amazing for people who want to tell a Greek tragedy and do a Greek tragedy play. But it could also be used by somebody doing Shakespeare or somebody doing some modern thing. It's just predicated to tell a certain type of story. So every campaign setting is predicated to tell high fantasy or low fantasy or Eastern fantasy. But yeah, all you can really provide with a campaign setting is the stage dressing, and then people are going to do with it whatever they do with it.
Okay. Well, hey, since we have Chuck on, and Chuck is also an RPG designer, Chuck, I pulled up your Facebook page for City of Solstice, which is an OSR setting you're working on right now.
Well, that's correct. Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about your process for world building and how it's different from or similar to Mike's?
I was very interested when Mike was talking because I feel like my process for building a campaign could not be any more different. Like if I tried. So I start with characters. I really, when I run games, to me, it's the interaction. Like a character is my way of interacting with the players, and so I look at what various characters in the setting want, and kind of use that to build up from there. Like I consider NPCs to be the foundation.
Now, I know you said when you were writing Solstice, you started with maps to some degree, right?
Well, that's correct. But for example, when I ran my first adventure, I only had one neighborhood, one ward of the city mapped out at the beginning of the campaign. I kind of knew generally the characteristics of each neighborhood, but
okay. And now you've got what, 7 or 8?
14.
Oh, okay. That city is getting fleshed out.
Huge.
Yeah, the map is done. Jan Willem Vanderbrink, he's actually a architectural draftsman. He did the maps, and he did a fantastic job.
Cool. And we're getting this ready for crowdfunding right now.
Yeah.
Now, can you talk a little bit about the premise of this? Because the premise of this is pretty neat. Because I mean, normally you get a fantasy setting, and it's the guys get together, and this great magic is descending on the land, and it's not that, which is really refreshing, but really nice to still have that fantasy feel without the like, I must hold my sword aloft in the Boris Vallejo style, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
No.
so it's the the kind of elevator pitch for the setting is that it's the Untouchables in a fantasy world. So you're in an environment run by 5 criminal gangs, a city, and the players are the city watch, and many of the things that you kind of come to rely on in a fantasy game in terms of the power fantasy angle of it are not present. So they're not allowed to wear heavy armor. They're not allowed to use two-handed weapons. Most magic is outlawed. Clerical magic is allowed. But so, for example, the group that has been playtesting the setting and the adventures, they have a monk, they have a bard, they have an alchemist, and they have a cleric. And so they're running around. They're pretty shady, all things considered. Like their alchemist keeps making poison for them, and that's kind of how they're taking on bad guys that are honestly better equipped than them.
Because dysentery will do marvelous things to your enemy.
Correct.
That's pretty interesting. It sounds like playtesting's been really key to your development process. Mike, how has playtesting been for you on Vaskaya?
Most of my playtesting gets slipped into other games. So, like my On Turbine Wings crew in Mists of Akuma are the people who playtest most of the monsters in Vaskavia. Although I tend to like I file the serial numbers off. So it's like it's not like you're fighting a Kalar the Lizard Lord, the Psychic Dinosaur. I present it instead as like a mystic who makes themselves giant-sized as they go to, swipe off this caravan and destroy it, kill this noble and stuff.
Why the hell wouldn't you want them to fight a psychic dinosaur?
Well, it's just that wouldn't fit in Mists of Akuma.
Okay.
Yeah, Mists of Akuma is very yeah. I'm trying. No. I remember when we were making Mists of Akuma, I tried to include psychic dinosaurs, and the rest of the design team was like, "No, Mike, you cannot have psychic or undead dinosaurs." And yeah,
it sounds like you need to move some people over. Move them in line with your vision.
No, they were correct. They made a good call for that one. I got my psychic and undead dinosaurs in Vaskavia. I'm good.
There you go.
Mike and I are actually working on an adventure right now that involves undead dinosaurs. So, great minds think alike.
God damn it, you're holding out on me.
Zombie dinosaurs.
Zombie dinosaurs.
It's on its way.
Yeah, Aid, I can send you the manuscript for layout, right?
That's correct. I have all the artwork as well. Yes.
Oh, all right. And we are here looking at Kala the Lizard Lord, and looking at the step. This is it. This is the psychic dinosaur, right?
Yeah, I mean the lesser dinosaur lords are also psychic, but Kalar's the big dog. Yeah.
All right, cool. This is a really interesting setting. You got a lot of cool Gonzo stuff in here.
Thank you. I try my best, man. I mean, it's yeah. So if do you guys see Fire and Ice by Ralph Bakshi?
Yes.
Yes. This is my love letter to Fire and Ice.
Oh, that's kind of like classic, sword and sandal kind of fantasy, then, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm shooting for.
Okay.
Although at the end, you can see on page 37, there's a list of all the different warlords and then tips on how to make them work in your regular medieval fantasy campaign.
Okay.
Okay, that's really cool because what was Fire and Ice? Late 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know one of my players back then had a character that had to look like the guy from Fire and Ice. So it's like that kind of thing. But he was called Al Thorne, and his personality was based on Al Bundy from Married with Children. So it's such a weird combination. But it kind of worked.
Yeah, that was 1983.
Yes, yeah. Crikey.
Okay, how much were you drinking when you were playing this game?
Oh, this is going back literally the early 80s, so nothing. I was busting young whippersnapper back then.
I thought the
sugar.
next word
he was drinking lots of sugar.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's cool. But yeah, so I got a question for Mike as well. So you said it was a low magic fantasy setting. What are you doing with wizards and clerics?
There are no wizards. There
There's
just
no
aren't
wizards. Okay, that's
fucking
pretty.
any wizards, man. It's on page 1. No wizards.
No wizards allowed.
You can
Okay.
play a cleric, but there aren't any gods because Vascavia is too big for gods. But there are spiritual patrons, which are, you guys know Warhammer 40,000. The Chaos Gods are spiritual patrons. It's more about a concept as opposed to like an actual proper entity.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you're a cleric and you want to have this domain, as long as your beliefs align with that domain, go for it. You don't have to worship Bob so you can get access to Bob's domains. You just worship the domains.
Yes, but have you ever seen Bob's domain? It's freaking awesome.
40-inch TV, shag carpet, got a mini fridge for the beer.
Craziness.
I'm looking at this Devastation cockatrice. I really want to fight this thing, Mike.
Thank you. The Devastation creatures are a little bit of an OSR twist. So, like, if you have a high enough perception, you'll realize there's something wrong with that cockatrice. Otherwise, it won't occur to you until, like, you start taking psychic damage, and the psychic damage starts turning you into stone. And there's, I think, a dozen different Devastation creatures. So, like, Hydra, Hippogriff, Griffin, what else?
Here's the Hydra right here.
Yeah, that's the Hydra.
And what are they like the Godzillas of the world?
No, not even.
So they're not even like unique entities or anything. They're just big
Just
spouses.
some Hydras are fucking terrifying compared to other Hydras.
Cool.
Yeah.
Guys, this Hydra is messed up. Stay away.
He's got this is some cool art you got. I like the shock of purple there. Really kind of makes it seem more alien and freaky.
Thank you. This is line work by Lady of Hats on, and it's public domain. Her name is Lady of Hats on Wikimedia. Her real name is like Mariana. Hold on, I don't want to get it wrong. Mariana Ruiz Villarreal. So over the course of many months, I colored all of the artwork that she has on Wikimedia, and yeah, I am particularly fond of how the Hydra came out.
Man, we were saying before the show, your public domain art skills are much bigger than mine, because whenever I was looking for that, I just always find like a couple of pictures on Shutterstock or something. But we found some really cool stuff on Wikimedia.
This one is something that I own. That Mongrel Folk is by Indy Martin.
Okay.
And then the Tyro car there, the Saurian dude, is a Dean Spencer piece.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's not all public domain, but like where I could, public domain.
Yeah, art is. I do some publishing myself, and I love it. But at the same time, it can explode the budget on a project so much. Well, Chuck, you used to be a publisher, and you're kind of dipping your toe back in that pond. What's your approach to art these days? I know you're doing some OSR projects these days, in addition to City of Solstice.
Yeah,
line work for that in OSR, right?
I'm sorry.
You can get away with just line work with OSR.
Correct. Yeah, like I did a necromancer book, and I just kind of commissioned from Jacob Blackman a picture of an iconic necromancer, and it was just line art, and then Abe worked his design magic and turned it into imagineered it, I should say, into a cover.
Yeah, Jacob's great. I love Jacob's work, especially, and it's like that's stuff that you could definitely do your own coloring.
Right.
Most of Jacob's stuff.
Yeah.
Jacob was actually going to be here today, but our sister podcast called Babies with Knives, I didn't name that one. They are having a some kind of actual play, and they stole Jacob.
Traitor.
Why is Jacob always dipping out when I'm on the show, man?
Jacob is in demand. He is a working artist, and
I love that necromancer cover.
Yeah,
It is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been considering.
I'm not saying that because I did it. I like the artwork. I did nothing to do with me. The artwork's really cool. I like the artwork. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a show coming up next week with Jacob. We're recruiting guests right now, talking about working as an artist in RPGs and building your resume and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely a cool cover. But yeah, we talked about it we did our first episode of his artist series last time, and I was talking about how my inclination with pretty much any artist is to sort of just give them free reign. Generally, they're more visual thinkers than I am, and they'll have a better idea how the composition is going to work if I'm working with Aid or Walt or just whoever. Especially John Gibbons. He's a guy I work with. He does great art, but if you give him too close of a pitch, just slows him way the hell down. So I just kind of let them run wild, and it usually turns out okay.
So when I order artwork, I tend to order multiple pieces at once, so I can get a bulk discount. And because I'm making campaign setting books, it's all got to be consistent. But I try to give at least one or two pieces where I'm like, okay, here's the subject, here's like the smallest number of things that absolutely need to be there. Do whatever you want. But yeah, you tend to get the best work when you give people free reign.
I think you're more of a pro than I am because you're smart enough to buy in bulk. Usually, I just buy piecemeal as it occurs to me. I need something when I'm writing it, and then sometimes the artist can accommodate, sometimes they can't. So I wind up with 3 or 4 different guys in the same book, which sometimes is cool, and sometimes there's some clash between their styles.
I found it helps if you try to if you have multiple chapters, if you can group art by chapter, that can make a huge difference. Or by theme sometimes. I mean, there's a number of different ways that art directors will tell you can go with multiple artists, but it's possible to use lots of different artists and keep consistent themes when you're paging through.
Yeah, cool. Chuck, I just want to come back to City of Solstice for a second. You mentioned the city is controlled by 5 crime families?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh my goodness, so cool.
Like modern New York?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't consciously make that connection, believe it or not, given that I started with the Untouchables and 5 families. I honestly just I wanted thematically, I wanted astrology to be a big part of the setting, and so it's 5 because they're the Star Society, and it's very kind of pulpy. Like there's characters running around the setting that call themselves the Shadow Shroud, which is a word I've practiced very hard to be able to say, and I'm very proud that I just pulled it off. Because being able to write it and being able to say it, as Harrison Ford will tell you, is not the same damn thing.
Exactly.
Sounds like they're a little bit like the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, that's what? That's another good way to look at it. So they one of the gods in the setting is called Mother Moon, and she's the goddess of everything kind of sketchy that happens after dark, crime, adultery, anything like that, secrets. And she told one of her priestesses that there was a night coming called Black Night, where there was going to be no moon and no stars, and anyone who worked by stealth was going to be vastly more powerful on that night. And so the priestess of Mother Moon, who was always getting slighted in her opinion by gods like the sun and love and all that dumb shit, she went together and kind of assembled all these criminal organizations. And on Black Night, they killed the Earl. They killed his wife. They put his daughter under house arrest, and they took over. And that was 10 years ago. And the players are now newly minted cops.
One of my buddies is a military guy, and he also plays a bunch of RPGs. And I usually talk to him about like all the various projects and stuff like that the Fainting Goats and Fainting Goats adjacent people are into. And I was telling him about this, and he's like, "Dude, we should have when this comes out, we should do Sicario as a." I was like, "Oh my god, yes, that would be amazing," because he was describing like a bunch of the player characters acting as like a fist or a SWAT team, moving into tight quarters with crossbows, and how he would do it in medieval style and stuff like that with the confines of the setting. I was like, yeah, this is dope. This is going to be great.
Mm-hmm. See, and it's funny listening to Mike talk about his campaign having no wizards, because I kind of did the same thing, except my players are really just always kind of annoyed at me because they're not allowed to be magic users, but the Star Society has all kinds of magic users, because that's, of course, to cement their control over the city. The first thing they did was they got rid of wizards, paladins, rangers, basically anyone that they thought could be a serious threat to them.
Maybe it's just me. Do you guys? I prefer parties that don't have magic users. I think it's better playing, different class. It makes it more interesting for me. Do you guys have a similar point of view, or do you just make that modification in this campaign for more thematic reasons?
I don't like conjurers that don't know what the fuck they're gonna do on their turn. Like specifically, look, I've got 8 fucking snakes. Now I'm gonna spend 30 minutes describing what I do over the course of 6 seconds. Like, god damn. Yeah.
I also don't like fighters who don't know what they're doing. But with wizards, it's a bigger problem because their shit takes longer anyway.
Yeah. As long as the player knows what they're doing and like is mindful of the rest of the table, whatever, I don't care. Yeah.
If I had been a smarter guy, I would have created an OSR podcast just called "Fuck Wizards," and we would.
It would have so many implications.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing title for a podcast. I want to be on episode 1 of that.
When are we doing this?
I gotta see if I can get a licensing deal with White Castle.
What the hell?
It's a perfect tie. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody with a long beard and a staff walks into a White Castle, they just get smoked. White Castle doesn't like wizards. They don't serve wizards. They just don't like them around.
They just throw one of those hard squares of beef right at their head. So you gotta get out.
Yeah, you just walk in and they're like, "We don't serve your kind here. Get out."
There's a big sign in the window that says "No concealed carry." And it's like a picture of a wand.
Yes.
I'm liking this idea the more we talk about it. Well, hey, I got to finish up. I pick up my kid from kindergarten, so he's in first grade now. Time flies.
Damn.
Mike, let's talk about your writing process. Do you have, like a set place or, a certain kind of, ritual you got to have set up? You got to have your coffee or your tea. You got to write in a certain coffee shop, or more utilitarian. How does it work for you?
Much more utilitarian. The goal is 3,000 words a day on writing days, like minimum 3,000 words. It's better if I hit like 5. I outline. Outlining is a huge, enormous help. And there's a 30-minute video John Cleese gave this great speech about creativity. If you just Google John Cleese creativity at a German television conference in the 80s. It's funny and extremely informative, but what it boils down to is that they got their best writing done. Monty Python, the group, got their best writing done after they engaged in some play and they sort of changed their mode of thinking. So like when you get yourself into the play mode, which for me is playing a video game for like maybe 10 minutes, then it's easier and the stuff you write will be better than if you just like sit down immediately, try to pound it out, or don't access that like playful side of yourself, because that's how your brain works. Yeah.
Cool. Chuck, how about you?
Kind of similar. I like to refer to myself as a vulture in terms of how I write, because I circle for a long time and then I strike. And so I spend a lot of time thinking and outlining and brainstorming, because I always feel incredibly unproductive when I have to rip out 1,000 words and rewrite it. So my goal is to know where I'm going, and so that when I do write, I might have to make minor changes. I mean, of course you do, but I don't ever want to just get 5,000 words into something and decide that it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, that's always a bad feeling. I would agree. Well, hey, I need to wrap things up. Anyone have any closing thoughts before we call it a show?
Fuck wizards. Sorry.
Fuck wizards.
Agreed.
Also, down Fresh Tovia.
Not even gonna name it. Fuck wizards at www.vastcavia.com, everybody.
And why don't you, it's not an intuitive spelling. Could you go ahead and spell it out for our listeners?
Yes, VASTKAVIYA.
Perfect, thanks. I'll have that in the show notes too. So, all right, well, hey, Mike, it's always a pleasure having you on, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Chuck, as always, it's great having you on too. Thanks for coming on, sir.
It was great fun, Mike. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, man. Likewise.
So we're gonna wrap it up. Aid, Walt, thanks for coming out, guys. Nice having you on.
Thank you. And we just have to make sure that we got to get Chuck and Aid to stop flipping off the camera like this.
Yeah, totally. I've been double fisting it this entire time.
Aid mooned us twice.
Okay. I got lots of jokes I'm not going to make. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on the BAMF podcast. And we're almost